Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston. Are you looking for a unique summer adventure? Depending on your perception, this one might kind of freak you out. They have two reputations, blood-sucking villains like vampires, but the more you learn about them, you realize they're really nature's superheroes instead, like Batman. Every night at sunset, hundreds of thousands of bats take to the sky over Buffalo Bayou Park in one of the city's most spectacular wildlife displays. Bat Chats with the Buffalo Bayou Partnership is an educational experience that gets you up close to Houston's famous bat colony. Trudy Smith with Buffalo Bayou Partnership and Suzanne Jurek with the Houston Area Bat Team, yes there is one, they share what makes this such a special Houston experience, and when it comes to those myths, they'll go to bat for the bats. There you go. Thank you very much. But I'm Bob. All right. Trudy, let me start with you. The Buffalo Bayou Partnership. A lot of people realize that, our nickname is the Bayou City, and we've got bayous here, but we only pay attention to them when we're flooding. Otherwise, we're driving past them, driving over them. Right. There's a whole nother life system down there.
There is. We actually have 22 bayous in the Houston-Galveston area. We kind of consider Buffalo Bayou as the mother of all bayous. It's 52 miles. Buffalo Bayou Partnership is responsible for about a 10-mile stretch, and from Shepherd to the east end to Turning Basin. Yeah. And there are so many things that you can see and experience and explore.
And you allow people to do that. We'll talk about that in a minute in so many different ways.
Right.
You mentioned Buffalo Bayou being like, the prima donna. Isn't that, correct me if I'm wrong on my history, but kind of where Houston was established?
Exactly, that's right. Mm-hmm. It's founding on Buffalo Bayou at Allen's Landing. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, when it comes to the Houston Bayou wildlife, we know there's the American alligators. I've seen those every now and then. Turtles, otters, beavers, snakes, gray fox. You encourage people to explore the local ecosystem, and you have those tours and boat cruises. All right, bats are the featured summer species. Suzanne, how does one find their way to become kind of a bat expert?
Well, for myself, I started out at the Houston Zoo taking care of bats and just fell in love with them and made my way to the Houston Area Bat Team and also to Buffalo Bayou Partnership to teach people about bats.
Yeah, we have the second largest urban bat colony in the country. I have a lot of friends that take their, we're going to Austin for the Congress Avenue Bridge to watch the bats. And I go, we got our own bat thing going on right here. All right, so you teach about the conservation and you also dispel some of those myths. Let's talk about those right now.
Absolutely.
All bats are bloodsuckers.
No, there are over 1,400 species of bats in the world. 3 species are vampire bats.
Yeah, bats are aggressive. They'll dive into your hair and attack you and get all stuck and stuff like that.
Only if you happen to have really tasty looking moths in your hair.
Yeah, right. And mosquitoes, I think they can they have a lot of precision in terms of where they can find these bugs. So if you have the bugs around you, they're not going after you, they're going after those bugs.
That's exactly right.
If it happens, right? Okay.
That's right.
Bats carry rabies.
While they can carry rabies in the wild population, it's less than 1% that have rabies. It's very, very low.
Yeah, all right. Girl, you are blind as a bat. Well, bats aren't really blind, are they? They use an ecosystem, but
they are not blind. They actually have very good vision. Now, the insect-eating bats use their echolocation more than the fruit and nectar-eating bats. Those bats hunt more by sight and smell, but they all have good vision.
Yeah, all right. They're nothing but flying mice and dirty pests.
A lot of people think they're in the same family with rodents, but they're not. They actually have their own family called Chiroptera, which means wing hand or hand wing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So, and how can you say this is? Let me see this little guy right here.
Yes.
Okay, just so you know, it's not a real one, but look how cute that is. That is a Chihuahua with wings. Okay. Wait. Here we go.
It's a sky puppy.
Hi, I'm a sky puppy. Okay. Anyway, they're so cool. All right. There's a reason why a lot of cities, if you have a large population of bats, don't have to use more pest control, more pesticides, because they're doing some of the heavy lifting for us.
That's absolutely true. In fact, the bats at the Waugh colony alone here in Houston will eat 2 tons of insects every night when they come out. And most of that is agricultural pests, so they are providing amazing service to our
They're saving
farmers.
Crops, like millions and billions of dollars in terms of saving crops. All right, our bat population, home to over 10,000 home to over 10 species?
We have 11 different species in Houston, 30 different species in the state of Texas.
Okay, the Mexican free-tailed bat's one of the most popular ones, right?
Yes, that's the most common.
Okay, the Waugh Drive Bat Colony. You were making a correlation earlier between the Congress Avenue Bridge in Austin
the Waugh Bridge.
Yeah, because apparently bats are great, like the architects, and engineers. They understand.
They love the spaces, the crevices. So it's the same construction, which is really fascinating.
All right, and under that bridge bridge, that wall bridge, how many bats we estimate?
So I'm going to pass it on. It's 300,000, and Suzanne,
And who's
tell
doing the
them-
counting?
Yes.
The bat
They come out under the bridge. They're like, okay, bat roll call. Robin, Bruce, Wayne. You know.
Yeah, the bat team has actually done some crevice counts to count some of some of the bridges in town to count the bats, but the current population, we always estimated at 250,000 to 300,000, but a former urban biologist from Parks and Wildlife told us that she thinks that population may be closer to 400,000 now.
Wow. Okay. The bats have a nightly ritual, which is really interesting to watch. All right. So people show up, you get there a little early, and you gather, and then you start to see it happen. I remember doing this before, and it's like, oh, there it is. It's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's not Superman. It's a bat. All right. But okay, that ritual starts with kind of like somebody that comes out and does reconnaissance.
They do. They're scouts that will start coming out of the bridge, flying under the bridge, and they're checking out what's the temperature, is it raining, do I hear too many predators, and they let the rest of the colony know when the time is right.
All right, so we have these education programs that take place.
That's right. It's summer species program, so every summer we highlight flora and fauna, and this year we're highlighting bats.
Yeah, okay.
So you can see bats by foot with our bat chats on Fridays. You can actually bike and bat. So
bike and bat.
You can see, by bike you can see the bats, and also by boat you can see the bats. So we have a tour boat, the Bayou Breeze. So you can see Houston from a completely different perspective and see the bats from the boat.
Kind of getting our course for a second here, but when you
Yes.
talk about those tours, I know that we went at Christmas time and loved it because you get a whole different perspective of the bayou and all the lights twinkling off the water and stuff. That was really cool. All right, so you have a number of different types of tours that people can do. All right, speaking of getting up close and personal, this is looking at a bat in a way that most people would never see, but you have kind of the skeletal model there so people can see what bats are and what they're about here.
Right, and that's actually a Mexican free-tail bat. That's the species of bat that's under the bridge there at Wa.
All right, so when people get there, what time do you suggest they arrive, and what's the experience like? Because it really is, people get kind of giddy. It's kind of fun.
Oh, it is, and it's so fun because there is an area at Wa and Allen Parkway, so there's a grassy lawn that's sloped that you can sit, people bring blankets, there's an observation deck that you can hang out, and 30 minutes before dusk is the recommended time to arrive. And so people start getting excited. We have our Houston area bat team on Fridays that can explain a little bit more about bats. And then what's really fascinating is you can see maybe the bats under Wa circling like a tornado a little bit. You might see hawks above that are getting ready, unfortunately, to take advantage of the bats. And so people are really cheering on bats, team bat when they start flying.
Yeah.
But, just a really fun and unique experience.
Yeah. It's interesting when people will say, "Oh, look at those birds! They're flying and it's nighttime." Those generally aren't birds. Like hunker down; they're going to bed. It's bedtime. It's they're usually bats. Even if you see them not under the bridge, but out and about the city, that's usually bats that are flying around once the sun sets. All right. If you happen to have a rare interaction with a bat, just some do's and don'ts. If you see a bat that's down, chances are it's sick. It could have rabies, so don't touch it.
And that is a possibility, but you're right. If you see a downed bat, do not touch it. As long as you don't touch it, there's no issue whatsoever.
Yeah. And if it looks like it's hurt, there are local animal control that will come pick it up, because one thing they do want to do is test and see if it may have had rabies, and then who else had contact with it. Was it down? Did you find it in your house? If you found it in your house, that's another issue. If you found it outside on the ground, again, maybe secure it, but don't touch it and be careful. But otherwise, enjoy the bats, because bats aren't bad. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Bat Chat at Buffalo Bayou's Wall Drive Bridge runs through August. It happens every Friday at 7:30 around sunset. This experience is free. Visit greatdayhouston.com for more details.